I am very, very excited to be able to talk to you this afternoon. You have been my cherished companions over the past several years. And I want to do this well. So with me, just take a deep breath. A little over 4 years ago, my husband E.D. died of gastroesophageal cancer of a particularly nasty form. When he lived for 18 months, that was a struggle. It led at his death to my realization that I had lost the dearest part of me, and I didn't really know how I was going to get me back. And I knew he wanted me to. I knew E.D. wanted me to live life as joyfully as I had during the time he knew and loved me. And so that has been the journey of the last 4 years, and it's what I would like to share with you this afternoon, not because I have any to-do list. I value our uniqueness. Each of us approaches and deals with loss in our own very special way. But it may be that in my story you'll find some things that will touch you and cause you to put them in your pocket for when you need them. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through the story. I have, over the years, used poetry as a way to say the things that were hard for me to put into words. E.D. was 70 years old and probably the healthiest person in our family. He did all the right things. He exercised and he ate and he did everything right. He had none of the markers for this very nasty cancer that suddenly showed up because he had been losing weight. We sought out the best help that we could get from MD Anderson. They had a subsidiary in Orlando, Florida. And that became the place that we went to over the 18 months. He went through something that's pretty traditional. There was an initial small surgery, then there was radiation and chemo, and then there was the removal of his stomach and part of his esophagus. And then there was learning to live with a very tiny stomach and provide nourishment with the help of a J-tube, which is a way of putting nourishment into the intestine. And in the course of the 6 months or 8 months that he was using that, I think the damn thing came out 4 or 5 times, which required hurry-up trips to get the tube replaced. I think for me, the 24/7 responsibility of, is this a life and death question, or is this just one more thing? Should I call 911? Is this a time to make the 1.5-hour trip over to the hospital or not? And you know, we're all Mount Holyoke people. We know we take responsibility seriously. And I would say that probably the biggest damage to me came from the fact that I was responsible in a life and death way for this most loved person. And in the middle of it all, we lived in our lovely home that we had created after he retired. Look at the first poem. It's called Before the Surgery. I think I wrote it around Christmas time. And you can either look at it or not, but I'm going to read it to you because every time I go back and read it, I recognize its truth. This is what it was like for me in January of 2011 as you were all getting ready to do 50th reunion. Before the surgery, you give him back to me small savorings of who he'd been, the voice deeper and stronger, the neck straighter, the stride longer, more purposeful as we walk the gardens by the river. You let him eat a small cheese sandwich and withhold the hiccups once so fierce. He no longer reminds of Dachau or Auschwitz. And yet, I have no faith. No, you hold the highest cards in that scarred and muttering, deadly serious stomach. You tease me with small fragments of him, back from the half-dead land of chemo and radiation. Next month, surgery will, we hope, pray, think, imagine, hypothesize, remove you. But now I fear the sneering, snarling chuckle with which you dangle him before me, dare me to reach out and touch, pat, smooth, snuggle. I dare, and dare again. It is the bravest thing I do to welcome his return and smell your breath, hear your snarl, know you're near. Yeah, that says it. It's living with the fear. And over a period of 18 months, that much fear, I'm better this way, the fear changes the way your brain works too, and I'll talk more about that later. We are blessed with 3 children, and 2 of them live in Tampa, and at that time, we were living in Ormond Beach, 2 hours and 20 minutes, no matter what you do. And the kids came, and we went for Christmas, and we did these surgeries. I stood, this is one of the visual memories I have of standing at his bedside when the surgical resident came in and said, we'll take a few of these stitches out. And I stood and looked down on the 8-inch incision and the place where the stitch had come out, and I could see the layers of his skin and what lay underneath, all of it. It was a seminal experience. I can laugh at it now because it just, I stood there and I looked. I did not look away, and I'm glad I didn't. So when we weren't at the hospital, we were home. And my home, we had created it as our retirement place. It was beautiful. I loved it. Some of you have been there. And one day, there was a cardinal who pecked at my window. In the ordinary things, we can get the most transcendent messages. Here's the cardinal at my window, the second poem. Every day he attacks his reflection in the glass. For hours he pecks, 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 pecks. I am saddened by the futility. And yet perhaps it is just what he needs. Sharpens his beak, dulls his beak, gets exercise, improves his eyesight, avoids harmful aggression with other birds, stays away from the nest where a brooding female has no room or patience for him. He is not me. Sadness about futility is my emotional reality, not his. Do I fear banging my head against an uncaring, reflective wall? Do I doubt the reality of my condition? Can I bear to hear his clicking metronome of dailiness while I listen to my heartbeat and my husband's, waiting to hear it stop? We had the hope of maybe buying a couple of years. That was the best we could really ask for. And then in the course of the surgery, they found one tiny nodule of cancer on the abdominal wall. It had moved from the site of the cancer. And that changed the nature of our hopes. And a few months later, he said, I think I'm dying. But so this next poem was written at the time of this, and it's called Kisses. We stood in the kitchen on one of those last days and kissed, as if it were the first time, with reverent discovery, like eating spring peas in a light and airy ravioli, or like the middle time with the warmth and appreciation of an old and treasured friendship, or like the last time, in the sure knowledge that the end is near and parting must come soon. The sweetness of 50 years together was in it, and just as real, the wry and mournful bitter taste of death. The quote, parting is such sweet sorrow that I should say good night till it be morrow. And now there is no morrow, but still the sweet sorrow of that last kiss. I'm grateful for every minute of those 18 months that we had, because we learned to do this. We learned to live with the reality of it, and thereby to feel the treasure of each and every moment. And if I could say anything to anyone, it would be, that is our value, isn't it? What we have is just now. And I look around this room and I feel that so much